Hey guys, this is Issues with Toddy One Skip. I am Toddy One Skip. Welcome back to my planet, our world. Let's be nice. Guys, breakfast, lunch, or dinner? Coffee, tea, matcha? Pork? No? Beef? Eggs? Tofu? Whatever it is, guys. Except tofu. I'm ready for it. Guys, there's almost 8,000 of you, and you know that this channel has just... it's all because of you, and I appreciate it. And I have a video that I feel like I owe half of you, and I don't know. So we're gonna see how this goes, because I get people, and I did a live stream yesterday with, you know, a couple women, as you know, and I think that both of them believe that Gypsy Rose was actually in some way or another ABUSED by Dee. However, not the way that Gypsy wanted us to believe it. Okay, so I think that people want me to be a little bit compassionate about maybe the manipulation that Gypsy grew up under. You know, that I guess that she came from con, you know, the con background of being a con person, and didn't learn morals and values, and you know, that is a form of abuse per se. But I feel like if you wanted to work on yourself, you had 8.5 years in prison to work on yourself, to make yourself a better person. And you came out of prison, and it didn't take any time at all for people to see how dark and how unhealthy, you know, the meanness and the manipulation and the conning and the conniving and all of that, to me, trumps any kind of abuse. And so you guys say, well, that's probably why she is. You cannot keep giving excuses to people that weren't born perfectly. You know, I've not met anybody that's born perfectly. My dad was a criminal. He was a career criminal till I was about 16 years old. Would that have given me the right to be a criminal? No. I mean, he didn't have us conning, and he didn't have his children manipulating. You know, I have siblings. Some of us grew up this way, some of us grew up that way. At some point, you have to be held accountable for who you are. You could be something in spite of somebody else, or you could be something to spite somebody else. If you had that much of a problem with your mom, Gypsy, you could have just left. If you have such a problem with being conned, stop conning people. If you think what was done was so terrible, stop doing it yourself. Because the behavior that you want us to believe that your mom gave you is stuff that you're doing now. Like, you're stifling a Munchausen by proxy true survivor. I don't understand why, except for the fact that you're afraid it's going to take away from you. There's a lot of people with Munchausen by proxy. Ain't nobody taking anybody's story from them except you taking Kate Marie's story from her and then bullying her. So I have tried to say, oh, you know, Gypsy's been through this and Gypsy's been through that. And originally, like I had said in the live yesterday, I did feel bad for Gypsy when I bought the whole Munchausen by proxy. But as soon as she opened her mouth and started telling different sides of the story, there's nothing but manipulation with her. And if she picked that up from her mom, and that's supposed to be the abuse, or having her hair cut real short, is that supposed to be the abuse? Some people, you know, when they get lice, they chop off people's hairs. Is that abuse? Why couldn't it have been that maybe Dee Dee had said to her daughter, listen, you know, in order for us to get things, this is how we have to do it. And I need you to do that. And I mean, they were supposedly very close best friends. So, and another thing I hear that just pisses me off, and is I can't find any truth in it, not as a drugs counselor, not as somebody that worked in a jail, not as somebody that had their own addiction problem 100 years ago, or as somebody that lost somebody to addiction. If Gypsy Rose was addicted to pain pills, she would have taken them with her when she left, because she knew if she was addicted, she'd get sick if she didn't take them. There's no mention of this shit. She wouldn't have been able to withdraw so easy in jail. There would be mention to this. Gypsy is taking bits and pieces of people's stories and trying to make it her own. Okay? I already know that you can't buy Suboxone, a bunch of Suboxone for $50. Do you remember that one? When she said she could buy a bunch of pain pills in prison for $50. No, you can't. There's no discount in prison. Everything is very, very high in price because of supply and demand. So there's just, I can't believe her to trust anything she says. That's my problem with her. I would have liked to have felt, wow, I hope she gets her life in order, and I hope that everything is good for her. I can't even say that about her. Look at the path she's taken since she's left jail. She used Ryan, right? Okay, that's her and Ryan's business, but this is what we see. She used Nick and threw him under the bus. You see that, right? Her dog, just left the dog behind. Animal lover here, come on. And then tries to shame Ryan because he works a lot and didn't want to leave the dog alone, instead of just keeping her mouth quiet because she left him to be with her ex-boyfriend. She takes no responsibility. She has got to tear everybody down so that she looks good. And people are getting sick of being torn down. And no matter what, you don't look good, Gypsy. You don't look good because standing alone, you don't look good. That's what you've done. So for me to get on some sort of bandwagon that, she was abused and, she was manipulated, for all I know, after a certain age, she was the manipulator. After all, again and again and again, never, ever, ever was there any kind of restraint found in that house, like Gypsy said. Gypsy said that she was tied to a dog bed for 2 weeks and had to urinate in some sort of pan or something, but yet she had access to computers, access to cell phones. That just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense because it's not true, is why. So I just can't sit there and say, wow, she's been through so much. I want to see success for her, because her success is costing other people great pain. So if any of this was true about Gypsy, why does she need to tear down people? Ask yourself that. Why does she need to tear down a true Munchausen by proxy survivor? If her story's okay. If everything is fine with Gypsy, why does she have to tear down a true Munchausen by proxy survivor? Why does she have to bully them? There's proof. You guys see it. You can go to Nina's page and see it. You can see it on Becca Scoops, part 2. Check that video out. It's very important. We all were sold a story, and now that story is coming apart by the same person that supposedly told us that story, to let us know that story is no longer, it's not true. It's not true. It was a defense so that she could get out of prison. And this whole platform of helping people, when does that begin? Again, I'm going to ask, when does that begin? Is that the way you help somebody? By taking supposedly a fellow Munchausen by proxy survivor and tearing them down? Is that how you help somebody? Because I don't see that in any other survival stories where people that share some sort of survival for a disease, they wish each other best. They want what's best because they've been through it, and they have a sympathy and empathy for people to say, oh my gosh, man, I hope that you get through this. I know how tough it is. Not that they call somebody a liar who actually has proof that they had Munchausen by proxy, more proof than Gypsy Rose, because guess what? She was never diagnosed with Munchausen by proxy ever, because it was an alibi. And in order for her to be diagnosed with that, her mom had to have been diagnosed with that. And there's no way that her mother was diagnosed with that. That was never on any medical records. That was never even mentioned until after Gypsy Rose got arrested and needed a defense. And then it couldn't even be used as a defense. It was just for the public. It was just for the public. From my understanding, the lawyers couldn't use it as a defense because the way to define it would have been by Dee Dee, who was not there anymore. So I can't say because Gypsy lacked morals that she was ABUSED, especially after being in jail for 8.5 years. Like, for being in prison for 8.5 years, you want to work on yourself? That's where you needed to do that. So, guys, that's what I think. So, I just don't agree. The fact that anything really happened to her except that she was a spoiled, rotten person that wanted what she wanted when she wanted it, didn't care who got in her way, including her mom. So, I don't think that's going to change. And we see the same pattern over and over again. So's her parole officer, by the way. Guys, this is Issues with Toddy One Skip. I am Toddy One Skip. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your subscribing. Guys, this is Issues with Toddy One Skip. I am Toddy One Skip. Tell me what you think in the chat. Guys, have a super great weekend. It is Memorial Day, so hats off, hands together for all of the great people that fought for this country, that have faith in this country, that believe in this country, that have lost their lives for this country, that have sacrificed for this country, and all the family members of our service people, past or present. Thanks, guys. Take care of yourselves. Until next time. Be better today than yesterday, not half as good as you'll be tomorrow. And if you see a vet, tell them thanks.